I see you
I think we have P9. Very good race, Jules. Finally, 11 points.
when I see you again.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Jules Bianchi Tribute Career Mode, part number 5 of the series. This time we head off to Europe for the first European race of the season. That is the Circuit de Catalunya in Spain. We're just going to check the options really quickly. Everything seems to be in order. So without further ado, let us begin the race.
Welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya here in Spain for what is expected to be a very closely contested race. Here's the grid for today's race. We'll be starting shortly.
We are starting once again in 18th place, once again out qualifying a Sauber there. So what the top 10 looks like. Daniil Kvyat getting into the top 10 for Toro Rosso. As you can see there, look at that, Lewis Hamilton's off third on the grid. Massa got himself onto the front row alongside Nico Rosberg. Alright, this is what the strategy we're going to be using today. The option tyres are this time on the medium tyres for this race, with the prime tyres being the very hard tyre. We're going to use this option tyres as always, coming in on lap number 7 for the prime tyres, and hoping that gets us to lap number 17. So without further ado, let us begin the race.
We're predicting an 8th finish or better from you. See what you can do.
And we are away in Spain for the 5th round of the championship. Got a pretty decent start. We're coming up right behind another fellow Frenchman, the Jean-Eric Vergne in the Toro Rosso. We're going to try and dive from as many cars as we can to turn 1. It is quite a tight entry to the first corner, so we've got to make sure we avoid any contact. We avoid contact into the first corner. We're now on the inside of Kevin Magnussen as we take P12. We're now going to try and go right around the outside of Daniil Kvyat, very similar to what Alonso did to Lewis Hamilton in the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix. Kvyat still though on our inside. We've managed to overtake the Russian into P11. Not a very good start for Kvyat there, considering he started from inside the top 10. We'll try to go down the inside of a couple of cars. We've made a bit of a misjudgment though and hit the back of Jenson Button. Luckily not to sustain any damage to either car. We're up into P9 though. A very good start for us. We're already into the points positions. And now we're going to try and get past the Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen as we head into the second of the 2 DRS detection zones on this circuit. This back straight here as we come up to sector 3. We're going to try and go down the inside of the Ferrari into the tight corner into sector number 3. Now sector number 3, usually for me in the previous games, I was usually very slow compared to the AI. But this year it seems to be the other way around. The AI seems to be a little bit more competitive in the first 2 sectors, but in the third sector they seem to be a little bit slower. Gone down the inside of Sergio Perez prior to the slow part of the circuit, the newest part actually of the circuit, which was changed for the 2007 Spanish Grand Prix. But anyways, we cut to lap number 2 and we are now right behind Daniel Ricciardo, the next set of cars in front of us. And look at this, we've got a very good drive out the corner. We're going to try and go down the outside into the left-hander. There's not enough room though, and we do back out of it just to ensure there's no contact between us and the Red Bull in front. See, I'm learning from mistakes from the previous races. And instead we're going to try and go down the inside of Ricciardo at turn number 1. So we're going to try and stay as close as we can to the Australian. See, we get a very good drive out the final corner. We could be side by side with Ricciardo prior to turn number 1 as we start lap number 3. The Renault power unit in the Red Bull seems to be keeping him ahead just for now. But we are a bit more braver on the brakes. So we take the inside line and take 6th position away. We're now halfway through lap number 3. We've caught up to Ricciardo's teammate Sebastian Vettel. We're really right behind the Red Bull here. We've made a little bit of contact going into quite a slowish corner. I can't remember what number corner this is or what name the corner is. I do apologise for that. But as you can see, we're right with Vettel, so we're going to get the DRS zone for the first time in this race. We're going to try to go down the inside going into the start of sector number 3. I think we've done it. I think we've forced Vettel a little bit off the track there. I think we made a tiny bit of contact. I'm not 100% sure on that front there. See, there was a green flag there. I think he might have gone off the circuit a little bit, but now we're right with Felipe Massa, who starts on the front row, if you remember. So he had a bit of a bad start to drop behind the Mercedes and his teammate, and we've just gone down the inside prior to the final corner and to the DRS zone. So we may be under attack, but unfortunately for us, we've managed to hold him off. And now we're right with Valtteri Bottas as we come towards the end of lap number 4. Looks as if we're going to try and get past Bottas in the same way that we passed Ricciardo on lap number 2. So let's keep ourselves in the slipstream of the Williams and combine with the DRS. Look at this, we're going to be side by side with the Williams here. He must have had a very poor drive out the corner because his Mercedes power should be faster than us, considering what happened in the previous race in China. Or we may have brought some upgrades. We've gone a little bit wide though into turn 1. We've managed to maintain that 3rd position, and we're already up into the podium positions by lap number 5, going a little bit wide, going into the very wide right-hander as we start sector number 2. You can see the Mercs are about 5.8 seconds away from us. That's Nico Rosberg that is currently in 2nd place. We're going to try and close the gap as best we can towards the end of this first stint. As you can see, the gap is starting to come down a little bit. We're just going to keep pushing hard to try and close this gap prior to the first pit stops. I seem to think we have an advantage over the cars on fresher tyres on the out laps. So as you can see, we're going to cut to lap number 7. We're going to listen to the race engineer here.
You're 5/10 a lap quicker than Rosberg. Bottas is struggling to keep up with your times. He's falling back by a second a lap. 1 second a lap.
So as the engineer said there, we're closing the gap on Nico Rosberg by around half a second a lap, which is giving me some great confidence. I think we can beat Rosberg today. This might be a very good chance for us to get 2nd place, or even the win, depending on how quick we are relative to Lewis Hamilton. As you can see, we're going to cut through to the pits for our pit stop. That's Nico Rosberg just being released by his pit crew. So that's how far he is up the road compared to us. We still have to make our pit stop. He's on his way onto the track after his pit stop. Let's see if the pit stop's good. Yes, it is. We're not held up by anything. As you can see, we're going to come out the pits. We sort of run into the gearbox glitch. We managed to immediately go into 3rd gear. That is very crucial for us to avoid any mishaps if we have any chance of catching up with Rosberg. We're now going to cut towards the end of lap number 8, and I'm going to admit here, this was a very poor error of judgment. As you can see here, Jenson Button is tucked up behind Rosberg. I think Rosberg is suffering from similar tyre warming problems that we saw in the previous race in China when we saw with Massa and Vettel. As you can see here, I'm trying to be way too aggressive. I try to go down the inside of Jenson Button into the left and right hander. Look at that! We've made contact with the McLaren, and we've probably screwed ourselves out of winning the race. But we are going to flashback this. This is from the other 2 perspectives. As you can see, I leave Button absolutely no space on that right hand side of the track. He goes onto the curves and he spins me out. So we are going to flashback this, and I'm going to take this approach very differently. So as you can see, this time I avoid going down the inside of Jenson Button. I hold back a little bit, let Button make his pit stop, and now I'm going to go after the Mercedes of Ross as we come to start lap number 9. I think we're in the DRS zone. I think that was because of the DRS detection zone with Jenson Button in front of us. That's going to give us a huge benefit in closing the gap to the Mercedes in front of us as we go into turn on. Rosberg seems to have locked up a little bit. I think he's under the pressure from us. I think he possibly is cracking under us. We're going to try and go around the outside, doing an Alonso-esque move on a Mercedes, but he shuts the door there. He was very wise to that. This time we're going to try and go down the inside as we start sector 2. We may possibly make a bit of contact, but there's enough space for us to get through, and we are now into 2nd place. How? No, we're not. Rosberg's just gone down our inside. We're going to have to leave him a little bit of room on the outside into the left-hander. But I think we've managed to maintain that 2nd position. Rosberg is right behind us there. But now, we can now try and go off in pursuit of Lewis Hamilton. We're now going to cut to the start of lap number 10. This is what the gap is.
Hamilton is 5 seconds ahead of you. 5 seconds.
So Hamilton is about 5 seconds up the road from us. We're going to try and continue to push as hard as we possibly can to close this gap to the 2nd Mercedes and possibly beat both Mercedes for the first time this season. We're now going to cut to the next lap. Let's listen to the engineer.
We're catching Hamilton by around a second each lap.
So as you heard there, we are actually closing the gap on Lewis Hamilton by around a second a lap. I never thought I'd be able to do that on a circuit such as Spain, which is usually one of my weaker circuits when it comes to the F1 video games. We're now going to cut to the end of lap number 11 to start lap number 12. That's Lewis Hamilton in the distance there. We've cut the gap to around just over 2 seconds, so we could be right on his tail by the end of the next lap. And as we cut to the end of this current lap, we're going to see we're right with Lewis Hamilton. We are in the I think we are actually in the DRS zone of the Mercedes in front of us. We're going to get a very good amount of straight line speed, and we're going to also put this car into fast rich fuel mix to try and give us as much chance of us passing the Mercedes as we possibly can. We are a bit too far back though to make a move into turn 1. As we cut to the middle of the lap, look who's in front of Lewis Hamilton. It's our teammate Max Chilton. He could be a massive asset to us for a change. Let's see what happens. We're going to go really close to Hamilton. We have to go a little bit wide at the corner to avoid contact with the Mercedes in front. We are still very close to him. I think we're in the DRS zone for this main straight. We could have a good chance of overtaking Hamilton going into the sharp left-hander. Gone down the inside. I think we've taken the lead. Yes, we have. We're in the lead of the race. Now, Chilton, just please get out of the way. We just need you to help us just this once. Come on, Chilton, just move off the racing line. We need you out of the way and holding up the Mercedes instead of me. As you can see, we just about get past Chilton. Chilton was very unhelpful there when it comes to the back markers. Once again, the AI back markers are still broken in this game. We're now going to cut to the third sector of lap number 14. I make a bit of a mistake going into the sharp corner where we passed Hamilton the previous lap. And now Hamilton's right with us. But luckily for us, it is sector 3. So we should be able to pull out a little bit of a gap over Hamilton, because this is where the AI seems to be struggling the most, as I said earlier in the video. Going a little bit wide going to that corner there. We're now going to cut to lap number 16.
You're pulling out a small gap on Hamilton each lap.
As you heard from the engineer there, we are starting to pull away a little bit from Lewis Hamilton. We've got to keep the pressure on, because you never know, the tyres might go off the cliff here and Hamilton might be in to steal the race win from us. We're now going to cut to the final lap of the race. We're going to stick with the final lap for the whole recording. As you can see, Hamilton is under a second behind us, so he has got the DRS zone against us. He is closing the gap. He's a bit too far as we go into turn number 1. We've got a back marker in front of us though. We may have a little bit of trouble getting past him, but I think it's a Caterham of Kamui Kobayashi. He doesn't move out the way going into the long right-hander, but I think we're going to go down the inside into the start of sector number 2. Very little problems this time, unlike Max Chilton's there. So we're just going to try and keep focused. We've done one sector, 2 more sectors to go. Going into the left-hander. We've gone wide though. We've had a massive amount of understeer going into the corner, and the Caterham is still pretty much there, and as is Lewis Hamilton. But luckily for us, the Caterham is the barrier between us and Hamilton. We've made another mistake going into the left and right hand complex prior to the second DRS detection zone. Got to try and keep a hold on our nerve here, otherwise we might lose this race. We've dropped down into standard fuel mix just to ensure we do get to the end of the race. Going into the sharp left-hand at the start of sector 3. We've made a little bit of a mistake going into there, but Hamilton's now past the Caterham, so we've got to make sure we stay in front prior to the main straight, because we could be in massive trouble if Hamilton is right on our tail towards after the final corner. We've gone wide though into the right-hander prior to the last 3 corners. Left, right-hander. Going into the final right-hander now. I think Hamilton's a bit too far behind to catch us. I think we're going to get the win. Yes, we do. We've got the win. Merci Jules. Cette victoire est pour toi.
What a win by Jules Bianchi, a race win of epic proportions. The Frenchman has pulled off one of the shocks of the season, of any season. What a performance.
Confirmation of the results there. Jules Bianchi gets his first ever victory. Lewis Hamilton in second, Nico Rosberg in third, the 2 Red Bulls in 4th and 5th, Valtteri Bottas 6th, Raikkonen in 7th, Felipe Massa having a disastrous race, finishing down in 8th after starting on the front row, Alonso 9th and Jenson Button in 10th. The only retirement sees Adrian Sutil in the Sauber, and Shilton is down in 20th for us in Marussia. Cut to the Drivers' Championship. After we cut an achievement, we are now under a race win behind Lewis Hamilton, with the only other mover in the top 12 sees Kimi Räikkönen up into 8th position, ahead of the McLaren of Jenson Button. We're now going to cut to the Constructors' Championship. Russia still in 3rd place, behind Red Bull and Mercedes, but there's no changes anywhere else. I hope you guys enjoyed the race. I very much enjoyed driving it and earning the first victory of the season. If you do like what you've seen, please subscribe if you're new, or like the video, or comment to see what improvements I can make to the series. And I'll see you next time for round 6, taking place on the streets of Monte Carlo, Monaco. A race where famously Jules Bianchi took his first and only points of his very short F1 career. Until next time, see you later.